Hey guys, welcome to Double Shot of Steelers. I'm Dejan Kovacevic, and this is the show where we're actually going to watch the cuts come in. You know, like live. It's pretty neat to be doing the live thing in that context. There are 13 more cuts at this. Well, no, there were 13. And then 4 of them have become known. So there's still 9 more. And there's guys that need to go on injured reserve lists and all kinds of other stuff that needs to happen here. We'll see if it occurs within the next half hour or so, meaning not that it occurs. They know these things way in advance, with the exception of, late adjustments for, injuries that happen in preseason games and so forth here. We're going to be joined by Chris Halleck here momentarily. He's tracking all this stuff for you. To me, what's more interesting, honestly, than the actual cuts is who gets cut by other teams. That's when you start seeing, now you could be moving into territory where you could be looking at who is this backup offensive tackle that you could get from somewhere? Who is this wide receiver 2 that you could get from somewhere? Chuck says, nice shirt. You can thank the boss for that one over there. She had these made. It's my very subtle way of reminding everybody what they need to do today, which is to download our app. Not YouTube, not Spotify, not anything else here. Download the DK Pittsburgh Sports app. It's free to download. If you like what you see and you want to see it without ads and so forth, and you want to see it with the premium version where you can comment and talk back and forth with us, there's a premium level, and I'll hook you up with that if you email me. I'll type up my email address right now at dk@dkpittsburghsports.com. If I sound distracted, by the way, in this intro, it's because I'm looking at the same stuff that everybody else is. I'm trying to, make sure that we're staying on top of whatever the announcement is. When the Steelers announce this, by the way, it all happens at once. Like, they don't say, we just cut this guy, and then we just cut this guy. They'll put out all 13 and the IR guys and everything else. It'll be all at once. I will tell you that the name that has jumped out at me so far, and it comes up here from Berg Boy as well. There's a couple here. He says, should the Steelers make a play on Dan Skipper? That is the surprising offensive tackle cut that was made by Detroit yesterday. And Jacoby Myers, who's in a bit of a different spot right now with the Raiders as a wide receiver. All I'll say to this is just wait. Just wait. A lot of names are about to come up. Names, in some cases, that are going to floor you like, whoa, how did that happen? Jay Miller says, so I'm guessing the 35-yard punt by Waitman over the 33-yard punt in Carolina was what got Johnson terminated. No. Where Corliss is concerned, he stood tall. Last season, he stood tall through all of this summer and everything. He didn't say, hey, I'm the second best guy here just because the other guy can kick it a mile. He just performed. And one of the things that the Steelers love about him is that character, is that fight that he has. But let's not underestimate him as an actual punter. He can hit it pretty far too. His directional punts were outstanding. Special teams coaches love that. His ability to drop it inside the 20, also outstanding. Both of them are really good dudes. I don't want to single one out over the other in the good dude category. Just a terrific guy, easy to root for. Damian Ellswick says that left-footed spin is a real thing. We saw it last year in action. There are a lot of muffed punts due to the reverse spin. Guarantee you that's a factor. I know Ben Skoranek would agree with that. Remember when Ben pounced all over that guy because he knew there was no way he was going to be able to catch it right? I think that was in Landover, if memory serves. That game against the Commanders. Great stuff there. I love to see that happen. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to be joined by Chris live, see what he's seeing, hear what he's seeing, and as we maybe find out who the Steelers' final cuts are.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Welcome back, everybody. And here's Chris Halleck joining us now. And Chris, what's the expected time based on precedent here? I don't remember this at all. I mean, the cuts are made. They're filed with the league. Now it's just a matter of putting it out to the public. Yeah, well, another part of it is this ends up happening. I mean, it's not supposed to happen, but it ends up happening all throughout the league. Players get told at 3:59, you're going to be cut. But, hey, wink, wink, 4:01 p.m. comes around and you're going to be signed to the practice squad. You know, that kind of situation happens. So I'm sure that teams, yes, their 53 man rosters are done, but then also looking at bringing, I think it's 16 guys back for the practice squad too. So that's part of this entire process. And then I'm sure that Omar Khan has been at least making phone calls around the league. One receiver that was getting cut elsewhere, that's interesting to me. Not saying interesting like I like the player, but interesting just because of the ties. Marquez Valdez-Scantling played for 4 years with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. That's an interesting name out there just because of that. So we'll see, but who knows? We're still kind of in wait-and-see mode right now. Well, yeah, we're in wait-and-see mode on 9 total players. Is that correct, Chris? Yeah. So 4 cuts are already known for today. DeMarvin Leal, Dylan Cook, Eku Leota, and Robert Woods are definitely cut from the active roster. We'll see if any of them come back for the practice squad. But Leal has to go through waivers for sure because he has less than 4 years of NFL service. So. Yeah, and he might. I mean, DeMarvin's been around a long time. He's a known commodity. He's put enough on film, good and bad, including this preseason. Actually, the good and bad probably both applied to Charlotte, where you could see that he can make plays. But you also could see some lack of discipline there with the holding. You could see some misplays that he made. There were times where he was making real impact. What an odd and unusual draft pick that was in general. You know, not to sit here and write DeMarvin's obit or whatever, but. What just an odd draft pick. Didn't fit the scheme. I'm not sure what they were thinking. And then a lot of people said this at the time. Yeah, the draft class in general, that 2022 draft class, which was Kevin Colbert's last, 2 guys are left. Calvin Austin and Connor Hayward. And that's it. Everybody else is gone. That's tough. Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, now DeMarvin Leal. Well, George is gone. I don't like doing that. I mean, when you trade somebody, you got a 3rd round pick. That asset still exists. Yeah, and you know, I guess you could make an argument that if you don't move George, I don't know. Anyway, it's not a great class. No, to say the least. Let's see here. Black and Gold Goggles says, did we cut Cam Johnston because it's so hard to trade a punter? So cutting him early gives him a chance to get signed. There's a really good chance of that. I'm seeing, hearing, and reading criticism of Omar for not having traded Johnston. Omar, not dumb, everybody. I mean, it's not like he wouldn't have tried. You know, it takes 2 for that to happen, for a trade to happen. And teams, all 31 other teams are going to look at the Steelers situation, both at kicker and punter, and be like, listen, you have to get rid of one of them, like at each position. You're not going to roster 2 punters or 2 kickers. So we know you're going to have to get rid of them anyway. Why would we give you anything when we can just wait? You know, especially somebody like Cam Johnston, who doesn't have to go through waivers. He's going to be a free agent. So he can sign wherever he wants. So, Simon here says, looking at the other 31 cut down lists, which we have not had a chance to do, to say the least. So far, the only team that I'm seeing where it's really gotten out there is the Saints. Believe me, it's all coming. Teams. The deadline is the deadline for the teams to file with the league so that people understand how this works. They don't have a deadline to tell us anything. Okay, they could wait till tomorrow. No one would say a thing.
We'd make it through the show without knowing. Like, seriously.
Oh yeah.
I
don't think we will, but I think there are other variables in this too. As you mentioned, they do want to give these guys a chance to make sure that they're having the best possible opportunity to hook up with another team. They don't become the enemy just because you cut them. You want to conduct yourself in a professional way.
Yeah.
Aiden asks here, how much cap space do waivers take up? Do we have room to only sign like 2 players? Steelers have cap space galore. Go ahead on this one, Chris.
So it doesn't matter because there is a pretty significant difference between SpotTrack and overthecap.com, which are the 2 big websites when it comes to tracking NFL salary cap stuff. And there's a pretty big disparity between the 2 right now. Like Over the Cap has less cap space, but it's like around 18 million, something like that, while SpotTrack is well over 30. The Jalen Ramsey compensation or cap hits is the big bugaboo there. But either way, I'll put it this way. Whenever I was asking people inside about the whole Terry McLaurin situation and was like, hey, if you guys were to get him for a trade, like how would that work for the salary cap? It got brushed aside like, oh, the salary cap's nothing. We would make that work. So if they would be able to make it work for a receiver that was going to be getting $30 million a year, they can make just about anything else work. So
exactly,
it's not an issue.
Swan, we get into some technical questions here. Swan says the Steelers can start signing players at 4 p.m. They can do that at any time.
Yeah.
Somebody else asked if the Steelers had to have made their trades by 4 p.m.
No.
There's no signs, no trades. This deadline is for one thing. Your active roster that's sitting right in front of you has to be at 53. The end. That is the only deadline that exists right now. Just to lay that out for everybody. Snowman asks with a $2 contribution, will Chris Boswell get an extension? The answer to this is yes. One of the things that you find out in the process of negotiations with players whom the Steelers see, and in Boswell's case, this would be correct, as extraordinary contributors to the franchise, is that they have every intent of getting these things done. Okay? I'm trying to figure out a way to word this without giving things up. TJ Watt was always going to be signed. Chris knows what I'm getting at here. Okay.
Yeah.
We know this 1 gazillion %. All right. From the Pittsburgh Steelers perspective, TJ was always going to be signed. There was no drama. There was no trade, no nothing. Just because you read something on Twitter doesn't mean that it actually occurred, as we continuously finding out. If Boz's case, I'm not going to put Boz at TJ's level because it's a different position and all that other stuff here. But Boz is the best kicker in football. I'm not even sure what the counter arguments to that would be anymore. Okay, I mean there are 3 or 4 good ones. Okay, great ones actually in the NFL. Boz is the best. Why? Because Boz has the track record. Boz has been through it. Boz has even been through his own downs and found his way back up. Boz is the best. Boz is going to get signed, is what I'm saying. That's what the Steelers do. Blitzberg Bander wants to know how much players make on the practice squad.
It varies, but they make 6 figures. I at least know that. But it does vary based off of how many years you have, so on and so forth. But they make a good living for sure.
Maddie asks, with a $2 contribution, are they still looking for a wide receiver? Could it be Trey Palmer? The Steelers are looking for a wide receiver. One thing that Chris and I can share with you definitively, and this is because both of us were told this, is that they have a higher priority, and that is at offensive tackle. Not to start, but to have somebody else that could come in and be a depth guy, ideally a swing. And most tackles, once they realize that they're not going to be starters in the National Football League, they had better become swing tackles. Very, very rare is the case where a Dan Moore just says publicly, I'm not going to the right side, which Dan used to say all the time without any shame. If you're going to be a tackle and you're going to stick in the NFL and you want to get an NFL paycheck, an NFL career, you're going to have to be able to do it at both sides. The Steelers right now value that more than they do the WR2. Let me make that really, really clear. Skunkworks comes in and says, offensive line depth is a critical need. Yes, it is. You have a WR2 in essence, okay? You have a handful of them. Your offensive tackle depth is Calvin Anderson. I will say so far, Chris, that out of the cuts that have been made, the only one that's really thrown me even a little bit is Dylan Cook, because I had heard some good things about him.
It didn't age well down the stretch in the preseason. He did not look good in the past couple of games. I mean, he had one rep. Now, granted, it's one rep, but it kind of exemplifies what was happening over the past couple of games. He had one rep where he got turned around and had to try to block a defender with his back. Like it's never a good look. It didn't age well. I think he started off really strong in training camp, and it just really kind of deteriorated. I don't think he was 100%. I don't know that for sure. I'm more speculating on that, kind of educated guess at that point. But I think he was less than 100%. And the fact that he got cut and Calvin Anderson most likely hasn't tells me Calvin Anderson is healthy, and that's who they want to be their swing tackle, or there's a trade in the works somewhere where they're going to be getting a different guy.
Yeah, one thing to remember about a day like today, stuff catches up with us, okay, and stuff surprises us. Not so much the Steelers. One thing you have to understand is one of the reasons when people think of advanced analytics in sports, when they think of all the research that needs to get done, they think of the super involved multiple acronym type stats, and that is part of it. But another big part of it is projecting scenarios, future scenarios, huge part of analytics. This is one of those things that fits into that. You have to have a database of everybody's active roster. You have to have a database of everybody's peripheral roster, meaning their practice squad. You don't want to let somebody escape your site if they can play, or if they showed that they can play in a preseason game. So when we're getting asked questions here about, so-and-so, let me see if I can find, I just had it here a second ago, who performed well. Here it is from Austin. It says, he asked Chris, after watching all the tape of the other Jets, how did Carter Warren look if he played much? It seems like he could be an offensive tackle depth claim. There are going to be tons of those within the next hour.
I mean, listen, I will say this.
Carter Warren, I'll say it for him.
Well, I'll say this about the Jets offensive line. There is nothing from the Jets offensive line that I would possibly want other than the guy from Penn State, Fashanu, who was banged up last year. So, yeah. And he's I mean, they're not getting rid of him. Obviously, he's a first round pick, but
good player. Yeah.
But my gosh, like that's I'm not saying that like, if they get him, if you're talking about a depth piece, then that's fine. But my gosh, like, I don't want anything to do with the Jets offensive line after watching 17 games of that, because it was terrible.
Yeah, they're not the place you'd be looking for who's your 6th or 7th best guy.
Yeah.
Is what we're saying here. Why is everybody talking about Deontay Johnson in this chat? Where's the guy come from? So Deontay's been available forever, guys. He doesn't come available today. He's been available for really, honestly, since he left. Okay. I mean, that's how you end up with 4 or 5 different teams. Deontay is in a constant state of being available. That didn't come today. So there's no Deontay discussion here. Look, if the Steelers say, the funny thing is because Chris and I say this all the time, what's the type of receiver that you'd want the Steelers to get? It would be Deontay. Okay? Because it would be a route runner. It would be a precision route runner. It would be someone who can come back to the ball. And I'm not even saying that as a dig because of his penchant for running backward. But they know the baggage. The other teams obviously learn about the baggage. And they, what is it now? A quarter of the league that's experienced him and said, no, thanks. There's nothing to see here as it relates to Deontay.
Listen, yes. Like when you look at Deontay's game, at least whenever it was at the peak, at its peak, this is the perfect type of receiver that they need. You know, maybe a guy who's a little bit better of a blocker, but man, when you talk about a guy who can run routes precisely and be on time and everything, this is the perfect type of guy. The problem is that there were bridges burned here because of everything that went down with the guy. And it's not an accident that he has been waived and then traded and then signed and then released and then signed and then cut. And there's all in how many, like less than 2 years, like a year and a half, like calendar year and a half. Like he's been with the Steelers, Ravens, Texans, Ravens, and Browns, and then cut by the Browns before. I mean, come on. There's a reason why.
And Kenny Pickett's bouncing around the league too here. I'm not into the whole kick the people when they're out, they're gone, and whatever else. And honestly, I don't track them. I don't follow to see how they do. I will be somewhat interested this fall in watching George Pickens just completely fall apart in Dallas, because it will happen. And he's also going to have a game where he makes 2 or 3 catches that make everybody go, oh, how do you let him go? Oh, if he'd been here, him and DK Metcalf would have been there. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen. All right. Those people are going to have their day, but it's going to be one day. And everybody else is going to have all the rest of the days. Those are going to be the ones where you wonder, did you hear what he said? Ooh. You know, or what he did in that game, or so-and-so had to go chase him off the sideline. And, you know, that might be the one that I'll be paying some attention to as well here. Lots of mentions of Hunter Renfrow so far in this. Andy asked which teams have to get under the cap. Well, the correct answer to that is all 32 of them, because that's something else that has to occur.
Always have to be cap compliant. Once the league year starts, which is back when free agency begins in March, you always have to be cap compliant. The difference is that during the offseason, only the top 51 contracts are counted toward the cap. Once the season begins, every dollar is accounted for. So you always have to be cap compliant once the league year begins, though.
Yeah, lots of asks on Dan Skipper, too. I don't think anybody would dispute what Dan Skipper has done in the National Football League. I think you would really wonder as to why it is that Detroit cut him. Okay, that's another one of those. When somebody gets cut, you have to understand that the team that knows that player the best said no thanks. And that always has to be a variable in this. You never know what it might be. Sometimes, can I get nasty on everybody here? Sometimes it's personal stuff. Okay. What is I'm going to sound like we're doing one of those bro talk shows now. Okay. Which we don't tend to do here. But the worst thing you can do in a team environment, and I'm not saying Dan Skipper or anybody that did this, but I know that this has happened in team sports, is mess with somebody else's spouse. Okay? Mm-hmm. You are persona non grata. You are gone in about 2 seconds. It's happened with the Steelers, actually in the pretty recent past. Okay? It happened in the case between the Penguins picked up a player from the Flyers. I'm not naming names here, but those of you who follow hockey are going to know who we're talking about here. These guys, everybody on the Flyers knew what this guy did and why the Flyers got rid of him. So the game with the Penguins starts. It was up here at PPG Paints Arena. The Flyers spent the entire evening attempting to murder this individual. Like, even the nicest players on the Philadelphia roster were going out of their way to kill this guy. Now, Now they know what he did. And the Penguins instantly figure it out. If they didn't know, oh, geez, he must have. Oh. So you never know. That's what I'm saying here. You never know why somebody gets cut.
Yeah, I really, really don't want to start. I almost don't want to talk about it because then I'll start naming specifics here. I really don't want to.
You guys,
but I know exactly what you're talking about.
You guys are putting the name up. I'm not doing that.
Hey,
Stop it.
All right.
Oh, jeez. And no, it was not Aaron Asham. I will run to Aaron Asham's defense. This was more recently than that. A lot more recently than that. So no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna say who it was. But again, if you were there that night, you knew right away what's going on. Why are they after this guy? What's this all about?
Yep.
Anyway, any sign of anything there, Chris?
Absolutely nothing. And I'm not the only one. I think there are because I'm just I'm looking for texts. I'm scrolling social media. I'm doing a number of different things. And I'm even seeing other reporters tweet gifs of being like, come on already. Let's go. Right. Let's get this over with. It's 4:28. Again, maybe something's in the works or something was in the works and things have to get finalized. Practice squad. Maybe the Steelers are waiting until they have not just their 53, but all the guys signed for their practice squad so they can just all do it in one fell swoop. Who knows? But we're still waiting.
Maxim has a question for us. With Will Howard seemingly going to IR, well, we don't know that yet.
Not yet.
Will Skylar Thompson immediately get released if and when Howard is healthy again? You're not carrying 4 quarterbacks, so the practice squad thing can't happen for Skylar unless he passes through. I believe it's waivers for everybody.
You have to put him through waivers. Yeah.
So he's going to be your number 4, which is what he was when he came in. And to be truthful, it's what he is now. I don't want to make too much of this Skylar thing. You don't just get excessively influenced by either the last bad thing or the last good thing that you saw. Gene Smith asks, cruel summer or love story? I don't know if you're talking about music or are you talking about movies? Because if you're asking about Cruel Summer by Bananarama, the song, I'm all day on pretty much any Bananarama thing that you could bring up.
That's all you, man. That's all you. That's all you.
Chris wasn't rushing the mosh pit at the Bananarama show.
I was not. I rushed my fair share of mosh pits, but it was to stuff a little heavier.
Taylor Swift, she said yes.
She did.
Is that what happened?
That's the breaking news of the day. Travis Kelce.
I'll bet it is. Engaged. I'll bet it is.
I went to. I'm really not interested in the whole thing, but I went to look on Instagram.
He's interested. He went to look. Really, he just acknowledged people. Listen to what the man just told you. Okay. He just said, I went to look on Instagram
to make sure it wasn't fake.
He's going to say that he saw Taylor Swift trending. I wanted to make sure she hadn't passed away, so I'm going to see what's going on here.
Definitely not a Swiftie, but it's funny. Whenever I saw the post on Instagram, it was 14 minutes old and there were already 1.5 million likes.
Raina says that those are Taylor. Cruel Summer is a Bananarama song. Does Taylor Swift do a version?
I have no idea. And again, that just proves that I'm not a Swiftie. So.
Yeah, you protest too much, says Damien.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at my Spotify if you want to. I have nothing to hide. I have no problem admitting when I like certain music.
Ted comes in and points out that Van Halen rules. It's been a long time since that was the case, but unless there's another VH that you're talking about here, I don't know who else that would be.
It's hilarious. Everybody now is convinced that I'm a Swiftie when I'm really not.
I think you are actually, though.
I'm really not. I will pull up my
you want to know something? Now. I saw some stuff on the NFL's official account.
We have news, and I am actually it's dropping.
I'm in the
right
middle
now.
of a Taylor Swift thing. All right, go ahead.
All right, so we have final cuts. Equiliota, we already know. 2 defensive backs, Beanie Bishop and Sebastian Castro. Defensive line, DeMarvin Leal, we already knew. Offensive line, Dylan Cook, we already knew. Wide receiver, Keyshawn Williams. Defensive line, this guy was waived due to injury with an injury designation. Defensive line, Dominique Davis. Wide receiver, Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson, know for a fact because he had a boot on his right foot. He got injured in the final preseason game. Terminated contracts, veteran guys. Defensive back, Chuck Clark. That's interesting to me. James Pierre, also very interesting to me.
That's surprising. That right now is because James is such a pro and can do a lot of good things and is effective on special teams. Look for them to try to bring James back.
Yeah. Offensive line, Max Sharping. Running back, Trey Sermon. Not too surprising there. Wide receiver, Robert Woods, we already knew. And then placed on injured reserve, designated for return, Corey Trice.
Okay, so Will Howard is not on there.
Will Howard is not placed on IR as of now.
So they've got 4 quarterbacks?
I mean, they didn't cut Skylar Thompson. So, I mean, again.
Maybe they think they can trade him.
Maybe they think that they can keep 4 for right now. And again, the 53-man roster you have now likely will not be the 53-man roster that goes to East Rutherford, New Jersey.
No chance. No chance.
I'm gonna go and give this on our app right now, which our app is finally working again.
All right, where is so I can read the list off to everybody. Our initial. Let's do it the other way around here. We're going to talk about. We have trimmed the roster here. I'm going to open this file up and I'm going to read it to everybody one more time. The 6 players who have been waived total. These just put on waivers are DeMarvin Leal, Echo Leota, Beanie Bishop, Sebastian Castro, Dylan Cook, and Keyshawn Williams, who had a pretty nice camp as a wide receiver. Waived with injuries are Dominique Davis, and he's a defensive lineman, and Brandon Johnson, who's a guy that I liked a lot at wide receiver. You want to hear something unfortunate about Brandon, because he ended up with, as Chris just noted, with the boot on his foot after the last preseason game. I had actually checked with Brandon before that about a toe injury, and he said, no, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. It turns out that he actually might have had that toe injury, and that athletes are not always honest when they're telling you how they are. Just throwing that out there, okay? The team terminated 5 vested veterans, which sounds really grim. 2 of them are defensive backs, Chuck Clark, who was brought in late, and James Pierre. Pierre is the surprise of this whole thing. Offensive lineman Max Sharping, who's very much a practice squad guy and is probably going to be kept through. Trey Sermon, another guy that fits into that. Robert Woods, who's either going to sign up with somebody else or just not continue playing football. And the team placed 1 player on injured reserve with a designation to return, and that's Corey Trice. Before cuts are made, the Steelers are allowed, and all teams are allowed, to place 2 guys on that particular list. They chose to only place 1. Previous roster moves before that, I'm not going to get into all those. There were 13 or whatever it was, other guys. But that is the final roster. That is. Do we need to go through the whole roster? We can do that as well here. Let me first see if I can get some of your questions answered here in the chat here. Steeler Girl out in Hawaii asks, why Beanie with Trice on IR? Plain and simple. And again, I'm not speaking for the Steelers, but I'm trying to relay some of the sentiment that I've picked up on from being around them. They are really going to go with the guys they've got. Okay, you're not going to see a whole lot of interspersing of secondary players. Jalen Ramsey's going to be out there. If there's 70 snaps defensively, he's going to log 70. You're going to see a ton of Darius Slay and Joey Porter and Brandon bleeping Eccles. You're going to see a lot of these guys. Carson Bruner made the team. Yes, he did. Carson Bruner made the team at the expense of Mark Robinson. That was
so did Dante Kent.
So did Dante Kent, who wasn't even able to participate in training camp. They like Kent. The Steelers were just as disappointed for Kent. I can tell you this, that he couldn't participate in training camp as they were for Will Howard. They really like him. They feel like they've got something there. Damian says, so Khan's streak of no draft picks being cut stays alive. Well, it's tough to do that. I mean, you got to really blow it to cut a draft pick in the same year. Like they've got to come in and be either totally damaged or just the laziest bums, and that would mean you'd be doing a terrible job of scouting the intangibles. Randy Wagner points out Skylar Thompson impressed. Yes, I think that is a fair thing to say, that on the 26th of August that we're talking about Thompson making it through cutdown day tells you that Thompson impressed not just the Steelers, but possibly other teams to the point where they could look at him and say, hey, maybe he's a guy that we'd be interested in possibly as a trade acquisition. Lots of Logan Lee made it. Yeah, that's because of his long snapping.
Logan Lee actually had a really good preseason.
It was a joke.
No, I know. I'm just not.
Oh,
I know.
Okay.
I know you were joking.
Yeah, here. AFL points out Bananarama. But see, Bananarama did a lot of covers, people. Okay, but Cruel Summer wasn't one of them. I don't think so. I thought Cruel Summer was a Bananarama original. So I don't want to hear that Taylor Swift did Cruel Summer as if it's some sort of thing on her part, unless it's a totally different song called Cruel Summer. I guess that's possible. We really need somebody to step up to the plate on this particular subject. Swag asks, hey DK, I downloaded your app. What's the email address? This is the email address he's asking to get the massive discount that you can't possibly say no to. In fact, you know what's funny? As many people as I've answered, and it's in the hundreds at this point over the last 5-6 days on this, I don't know that anybody has said no. Like, I don't have anybody said, no way, dude, that's ridiculous. I'm not doing that. Yeah, I just thought of that. Like, I don't remember one person going, hey, get out of here with that.
All right. Do we want the final 53? I can read them off right now.
I'm gonna handle that actually, Chris, because I had it up here on the board. The final 53. Let's start with the defense. Okay. Defensive line. The guys that are on the defensive line right now. I'm going to try to do these in the order of importance here. As Cam Hayward, Derek Harmon, Keanu Benton, Y.A. Black are your main guys. Okay, your remainder of the group is Daniel Equale, who also had a nice camp, Logan Lee. Isaiah Loudermilk made the team, people.
Because he plays really good special teams, guys.
That's how it goes. Know where your paycheck's getting signed and who's doing the signing. His are signed by Danny Smith, figuratively speaking. Esezi Otomeu is also on the defensive line. I know nothing about this individual, Chris.
Otomeu, he's a depth guy. I mean, he's
obviously, yeah.
I mean, but he had a pretty decent camp. I don't think it wasn't anything that's going to blow your doors off, but at the same time, it was better than some of the other options that they had. So,
all of the linebackers, they mix inside and outside together on this chart, are T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Patrick Queen, Nick Herbig, Cole Holcomb, Peyton Wilson, Jack Sawyer, Malik Harrison, and drumroll please, Carson Bruner, who all he did was make special teams plays in the preseason. You heard his name, and it wasn't just because he's Mark Bruner's kid.
I'm so glad you put it that way.
Yep. Defensive backs. I mean, it doesn't hurt. And we laugh about nepotism and so he's so related to it. It doesn't hurt. You have a lot of questions answered by knowing who somebody's relatives are. Heck, we're having an entire national debate about it on one particular front because so and so is related to Deion Sanders. They must be good. No, they must not be. Mm-hmm. Defensive backs. Joey Porter, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Brandon Eccles, Deshaun Elliott, Dante Kent, Miles Killebrew, and Juan Thornhill. That was probably the one group that, with the exception of Kent's injury status, you could have been the most certain about, where you say, all right, yeah, we know who these guys are. Special teams, Chris Boswell, Corliss Waitman, and, by the way, worth noting, Christian Kuntz. Because who knows what kind of surprises could have emerged regarding Kuntz's injury status, right? So let's go to the offensive side. If I can find this here. Why am I not finding the offense, Chris? Here it is.
I can give it
Quarterbacks,
to you.
here they are.
It's on our app, by the way.
Okay, cool. Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, Skylar Thompson. Running backs, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, and Caleb Johnson. I'm going with Kenny, by the way. He said we can have it either way. I just don't look at somebody and I say, call them Kenneth. You know? Wide receivers, DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Roman Wilson, Ben Skoranek. You, to your credit, Chris, have been saying all along they weren't going to keep more than 5. They didn't keep more than 5. Any surprise there?
Nope. And those were the 5 that I was like, if they're not going to add another receiver prior to getting down to 53, that the 5 are going to be Metcalf, Austin, Roman, Scotty, and Skoranek. Skoranek was always going to make the roster. He signed a 2-year deal.
On the official version of the Steelers roster, they list 3 tight ends. They say Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, and Darnell Washington. And that's because they give Connor Hayward a category to himself. And that is tight end / fullback, which would be that much funnier if Connor Hayward would actually sit in the room by himself all week long. I've actually joked about this with him. He should just in all seriousness, he goes into the room with the tight ends. He also spends time with the running backs. That's Connor Hayward, who always was going to make this team, by the way. That's another one that always was going to make this team. Offensive lineman, well worth a discussion unto itself. Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu, Mason McCormick, Calvin Anderson, Spencer Anderson, Ryan McCollum, who did an outstanding job of filling in for Frazier last season as backup center, and Andrus Peat, who is a really, really, really big dude and doesn't get discussed an awful lot here. Chris, anything at all to the O-line room?
I mean, Calvin Anderson making it obviously means that he's healthy. And then keeping Pete over Dylan Cook means, well, first off, that Pete showed that he can at least still play, at least for being a depth guy. And second, it gives the Steelers, I would say, needed experience in terms of who you have at depth, like outside of your backup center and Ryan McCollum. Because Spencer Anderson, yes, he's been in the league for a couple of years, but he's also a 7th-round pick. He's never really started. Calvin Anderson, yes, he's been in the league, but he's never really been a full-time starter. Pete's been that. You know, he's been a guy who's started in this league for several years. So that gives you a guy that has a little bit of, you know, he has some skins on the wall in this league. So that does help a little bit. We'll see how long it lasts, but hey, that might be a pretty decent pickup in terms of having a 9th offensive lineman.
We have multiple confirmations here in the chat that Cruel Summer was in fact a Bananarama original. Their version, I'm not going to sing it for you. If you don't know it, I'm not going to humiliate myself to remind you of what the song is. Most of what Bananarama did were covers, but Cruel Summer was an original. Now, I'm also being told that whatever it is that everybody else is talking about here, this Taylor Swift song called Cruel Summer was apparently just a totally different song. Ace of Base did cover Bananarama's original. Huh?
Ace of Base.
Ace of Base.
Throwing it
now,
back.
A lot of what Ace of Base did were covers, too. Yeah. They did the Bananarama Cruel Summer, which is actually a really good song. Really, really good song. Venus was a cover. Yeah, when Bananarama did Venus, everybody's heard Venus. Cruel Summer had a video, and there's a gas station in the video showing a price of $1.48 to show how cruel it was. You settle for $1.48 gas. I remember when I used to drive a car, Chris.
I drive a car all the time.
Knocked that right out of my life here. It's moved downtown. Chris Dolnack asks Chris and DK, who in the current 53 is most likely to get replaced by a waiver claim / trade in the next 24 to 48 hours. It's funny, Chris, because I already thought of that.
Who's the 53rd guy?
It's not that. It's who would be most likely to be added, I think. And whoever that offensive lineman was that we just mentioned, whose name? No. Who made it?
Pete.
Andres Pete.
Yeah,
gone. That's a space holder.
I would say Otomewo as well. I mean, again, I don't want to say for sure. Like I'm not going back on what I said. I thought he had a pretty decent camp, but of the 8 defensive linemen that are currently there right now, he's number 8. Like I don't see Otomewo staying on the roster over Logan Lee or Isaiah Loudermilk. He had some really good moments for sure, but if the Steelers need to make space, I would look at D tackle right now. I would look at offensive line, but even then, offensive line, keeping 9 offensive linemen is pretty typical. I would say the 8 defensive tackles would be where I'd go first.
Yeah, there are some guys who are on here that are not going to be on here, like Chris said. Whenever they get to East Rutherford here, Ray begins singing "It's a Cruel Summer. Now You're Gone." And see, if Ray could have sent this in a singing voice, we would have been something.
I'm not going to be singing that. You don't want me singing that.
Well, yeah, you're the singer. You can do Bananarama. If I walked in the bar and I'm asking you to do requests here, that's all I'm doing. I'm walking up to you and saying, "Yeah, man, I just want some Bananarama."
I got a lot of different things that I can do for karaoke, but I'm not doing that. At least not right now. I'd have to, like I said, have to get familiar.
Foster says he has seen Bananarama several times.
Oh, that's probably fun.
That's probably a fun show. That's what the boss is agreeing here. Is all you do is you just go there and you just sing along.
So much fun.
Yeah, all the words. You're like
fun. They're also like fun and upbeat.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're not dragging anybody down, not doing suicide songs and stuff. It's all it's good stuff. Like Ace of Base would be. Am I going too far here?
I just think
I think I'm going too far.
I think that's just too much of the same. Like, how many of those can you do?
You could do The Sign. You could do
like 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's it. And then you'd be out of there. You'd be like, you start looking at your watch.
Opening on to Morrissey.
Yeah, don't put the Bengals in this category, Dwight. The Bengals were a real band. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Ben Goodson wants to know, is Omar negligent over the wide receiver 2 issue? He's not done, Ben. We got to stop doing this. The season opener is on the 7th of September.
But
go ahead.
But even then, like if they don't make a move, if they don't add another guy, we have to remember the other part of this, and it's not something that people want to hear, but they really, really believe in Roman Wilson. They really do. They drafted him in the 3rd round. They're not going to just draft Roman Wilson in the 3rd round, have him lose out on his rookie year, and then just say, we're never going to play him. We're fine. We don't ever need to see him. They like him a lot, and he's made quite an impression on Aaron Rodgers. That to me says something. It's one thing to hear, the coaching staff really likes Roman Wilson. It's a whole other thing to be like, hey, that guy who's won 4 MVPs, he likes Roman Wilson. Like, why? I'm curious to find out the answer to that. We might find out in week 1. Week 1 might be the breakout game for Roman Wilson. And all of us could be like, oh, well, the Steelers didn't need a WR2 all along. But that's the thing. They need to find that out. And so it would not surprise me. Again, I've been reporting this since I found out about the Terry McLaurin thing. It would not surprise me if they don't add another guy prior to the start of the season. Doesn't mean they won't. Doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities out there to add other guys. A team definitely reached out to the Raiders about Jacoby Myers, and it would not surprise me if the Steelers were that team, because Omar Khan picks up the phone for every player.
He does.
That's available.
Yeah.
So it would not surprise me if the Steelers were the team to do it. But they also really like Roman Wilson, and they want to find out what they have in him.
This is a safe space for Bananarama fans, as David points out. You can hide here. We'll protect you from the rest of the cruel world. I'm going to take a couple more today here. Ideally about football, but we're open to anything here in this format. As you can tell. Nunzio says they also believe in this tight end group. Well, yeah, you would too, my man. I mean, geez. Florida Dave says, I haven't heard DK say butthole in a while. Now you have.
There you go.
Yeah, Kurt, you're starting to get you when you're getting into dead Kennedys here. We're in another category entirely here. Don't start mixing up. Just because they played around the same time doesn't mean that they have absolutely anything in common here. Our friend Chris Dolnak just throws out here for the heck of it, Black Flag. Have you listened to Black Flag?
I have not.
I've not. You just no, not Dolnak. Yeah, she's impressed that Dolnak would be into Black Flag. Drink, don't think, drive, kill. Sorry. Halleck's about to get some Black Flag, and he's going to put the window down too, just to make sure that it's not reverberating off the glass back into his opposite ear on our next long drive together here.
All right. Hey, I'm game.
Deal on that one here?
I'm game.
Yeah, Black Flag with Rollins. There's no other Black Flag. Stop that. Yeah, Donnie says 80s metal guy. I did like that song. I mean, there's Hard and then there's Black Flag. Okay. Alex says, how about those 50 gifted memberships? What's he talking about? Did we have oh yeah, we do. Oh, look at that. I didn't even see it. Hans just drops by and says, here's 50 gifted memberships because he can. He's like that.
Look at that.
Good job, Hans. I was not aware of that here. Make sure you have your accept gifts thing on. Bert drops 10 as well, all of which are appreciated immensely. Chris, final thoughts on the cuts today here.
A little surprised on the James Pierre thing. I did not see, or I saw Beanie Bishop getting cut. Again, he does one thing, and the Steelers already have at least two, and now keeping Dante Kent, 3 guys who can all do that one thing, and that's play in the slot. He doesn't play outside. He doesn't play special teams. It makes it very difficult to keep a guy when you have the kind of depth that they have at cornerback when you are not versatile. James Pierre is a bit surprising to me. I know it's like one thing about like, hey, we're talking about probably the 6th cornerback on the roster, but it's still a guy who plays really good special teams. And so I'm curious to see what moves are still going to be made. But I think overall, I think outside of keeping 4 quarterbacks, I think overall the roster pretty much turned out almost about how I envisioned it would turn out. So no gigantic surprises, no like, wow, tear everything down and nothing like that. I think it's pretty I won't say par for the course, but a couple surprises, but about what I'd expect. Nothing overly crazy.
Yeah, my thoughts on this are I really didn't see Pierre coming. I'm not sure what that's all about. They have a lot of confidence in the coverage guys that they have, and that would mean that it's mostly a special teams decision, which also wouldn't make sense. So I'm not about to criticize the move. I will say that I don't have enough information on it. I think that's a fairer assessment. It's not like Danny Smith would know less than I would about who he wants on his special teams. I look at the rest of this, and all I think is this is incomplete. There's more to go.
Oh yeah,
there's more to go. There's more that's needed, and I believe now more than ever is that the Steelers are going to add offensive tackle depth, and I believe that they're going to continue pursuing a wide receiver. And I also know for a fact that they've got the cap space to do both in a healthy way. And that means that we're not done with the Omar splashes for the offseason. We're just not.
It would not surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me either way. It would not surprise me if we get if we get some news later on tonight or sometime later this week. You know, the players have those 4 days off in a row. It wouldn't surprise me if we leave practice tomorrow on the south side, and by the time we come back on Monday, there's a brand new wide receiver in tow. Wouldn't shock me, but also wouldn't surprise me if they didn't add a guy either.
Guys, go find our app to find actual reporting, not predictions, not weird stuff. Go to our app for actual news. Go to DK Pittsburgh Sports, download that. When you're done downloading it, make sure you are emailing me. Sorry, all of a sudden, like I got like all these allergies just started hitting me. If I look like I'm crazy blinking for whatever reason.
Too much thinking about.
I know, right?
Too much
Jesus,
thinking
I look
about.
like I'm having a seizure. What?
Too much
Bananarama.
too much Bananarama talk.
Yeah.
Either that or Black Flag started playing in your head, and now you're starting to get a headache.
I think we need to.
Chris doesn't even know the pun he just spoke here because one of their biggest songs is in my head. All right, guys, go check out the app and email me. Oh, here, let me put that up on the screen here. Email me to get the massive discount that you can't possibly say no to. Right there. See that down there? Go ahead. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
You found it?